Welcome to episode 6. For each episode in this tutorial, actually you don't really need to watch the other episode because I always put the GitHub starter link where you can just follow the specific episode and then following it by using the GitHub starter link there as your Git clone to follow along. Okay, for this episode, we're going to start writing infrastructure as code in Amazon using AWS CDK. AWS CDK is a way to write infrastructure as code. Before CDK, there was something called CloudFormation and Terraform. But the problem with CloudFormation, for example, is because it is written in JSON and YAML, so it's not quite flexible there. It's not quite a code, it's a configuration. But with the CDK, you can write it in a coding in a language called programming language. Okay, and for this one I will use Java just because I'm more comfortable to write it in Java. But if you are comfortable in Node.js, it's probably better for you to write it in Node.js because originally CK is a Node.js. Okay, so it means whenever there is a new feature, you can get it directly from Node.js, and also you can get a more straightforward error message when you are using Node.js. That's about it, some short story. And then now, several prerequisites to do this. First of all, you need to sign up an account for AWS. Whatever we are going to do here potentially going to incur a little bit of money, but most of the services in AWS usually there is like a 1 year free trials, like there is some quota per month for the first 1 year that you can get it for mostly free. So maybe later on, once I've done with everything, I will show you how much does it cost on this dummy account. Okay, but usually I don't think it's going to cost much, especially as long as you remember to destroy it after you done it, unless you really want to spin it for you. Another thing is, after signing up, you have to set up a CLI. Okay, in which is in can be followed here. Later I will give this link. After when you are setting up the CLI, you need to create a programmatic user. In this case, I have this admin API. In order to create the programmatic user, make sure you add users later on and choose this one. Okay, that's one part, but I believe in that instruction for installing AWS CLI, they will tell you about this. But one thing that I will tell you to remember is actually for following along, the easiest part is to create an admin group, okay, where you give them the administrator access. Okay, so that's about it. That's about the second prerequisite, which is setting up AWS CLI, which requiring you to have a programmatic admin access. And then you also need to set up the CDK CLI. In setting up CDK CLI, they will ask you to have npm and Node.js for sure. Another thing is we need Maven wrapper later on. For me, Maven wrapper, I already prepared it in these folders. Later on, I'll just need to copy and paste for most of the stuff. But for you, either later on you can go to the GitHub link final version there, and then you just need to copy paste it, or you can follow along this Apache Maven wrapper wiki and then creating it yourself. So let's go on. Before that, in order to start from scratch, I will delete the HelloCDK here. First of all, I will remove it from a module in IntelliJ, then I will delete this. Where is delete? Okay. Now, once deleting it, I will start by creating the HelloCDK module. So let's name it HelloCDK. The rest I don't really care because I'm going to delete everything. I'm just doing this from IntelliJ so that IntelliJ recognizes as what you call that? Somehow it does it work? Let me check if it is already cleaned up. Okay, there is a HelloCDK.iml. Remove it. Now let's see if we can create the HelloCDK module. There you go. There it is. Now once it's there, I'm going to use the terminal, and then I'm going to start cleaning it up. There you go, it's clean up. Then I will bootstrap starting what you call that, starting a CDK project. This language Java. Okay, I'll need to clean this up. Let's sing this one too. So we are waiting. Wait, what? Okay, because it's not yet done. Okay, it's done. Once it's done, we'll have it there already. Next is we going to copy. Let me reload from this. Okay, then now we will have this Maven wrapper copied inside the HelloCDK. The reason why we want to have Maven wrapper here, actually we don't really need it for this episode, but for the long run, we're going to deploy it into a CI/CD, right? So we want to make these things as standalone as possible. For example, if we have Maven wrapper, it means the host which hosting the CDK package doesn't need to have Maven wrapper. Later on, the CDK command not going to be run by us in this local host, but it will be run by the host inside the CI/CD pipeline. That's why we're preparing the Maven wrapper right away. Okay. Now, once we have the Maven wrapper, another thing we need to do is we need to modify the cdk.json. Previously, it used this mvn. We need to convert it into mvnw. So it will be using the Maven wrapper. Now, once that's done, we're going to the next things. The next thing we need to do is probably we need to tidy up this one first because the default will become my org. I will want to make sure this is the same with the rest. The group ID will become this one. So let's do it. And then I usually use camel case. That will be it. Update the Maven, sync it up. There is some files here, but let it be for now. Actually, I want to make this into a Java module. Let me check how does src main. Okay, the Java will be marked as source root. Now it's looking nice. Okay, so something's wrong here. It means that this is being ignored. Where is the Maven? So you have to go to the Maven here and then unignore projects to make the POM XMLs not strike through like here. Later on, let's try to relocate from this. Nothing seems to happen. Probably just not up to date yet, but after you unignoring it, it should be, the POM XML should be fine. Then next thing is we already preparing the package. Now, in order to start using CDK, actually there is one thing you need to do if your AWS account never used CDK before, which is to bootstrap the CDK. What it means is simply you need to run this command line cdk bootstrap AWS colon. Now you actually have to put your account ID. For me, my account ID will be something like this, and then you need to put in the region where you want to bootstrap it. So if you move to a different region, you have to bootstrap again. Okay, and that's it. So what bootstrapping does actually is preparing the CDK for several stuff that it needs to have in order to make sure you can upload a CDK more than 50 kilobyte of deployment. That's why you need to bootstrap. Otherwise, it doesn't have enough AWS resources to actually support you in uploading a complex infrastructure. Now that the bootstrap is successfully done, let's check what it is by going to CloudFormation. So essentially CDK will be kinda transpiled into a CloudFormations, and then in the end it is a CloudFormation being deployed to the CloudFormation of AWS. And when we go here, we can see that there is this CDK toolkit that, because I already created it several days ago. So basically, if you look at yours, it will be just recently created. Okay. We can see the resources here. So you can see all these bootstrapping things, several SSM parameter, ECR, and so forth. All of this is to support the larger size of deployment. Okay. Now, after bootstrapping, what we can do is we need to start writing the code for creating the Docker repository. In order to do that, let's create a package com code engineering HelloCDK. Okay, now what do we need to write here? What we need here is actually we need to have the Docker repository app.java. Let's write that. And this will be a public static void main, so actually it's an executable. Why the autocomplete doesn't run? Okay, there you go. Then several things we need to do is we need to have the app to new app. Okay, it means the Maven is not, no, Maven is already there. Should be fine. Why it doesn't recognize the app from the AWS? Reload project. Let's see again the autocomplete. There you go, it already. So if you cannot find like this autocomplete, meaning that something wrong with your Perm XML, what I did just now was I reload the Maven. Okay, so app will be the things that is going to create a stack in the code formation, and then next is we need to have some input. For this input, we can imagine that we might want to deploy our application in several different regions or different account, so we can have account ID as the input. And for this we need to have what do you call that, we can get it from the context, string app dot get node dot try get contacts, and then it will be account ID. Okay, so later on we will do several other for these two. For example, the region, string region is string up dot get node dot try get contacts region. Because everything will almost always be the same, we can just factor it out, which is not only that we want to do this, we also want to just validate it. For example, we can do something like requiring that it is not empty. Okay, so for now let's just factor this out first. Get context or fail if not exists. Okay, and the input will be the context key. And then we just need to copy paste this one. Final string value, then the rank ID we will use the key, and we will return it because it is a static, private static. We also need the app, return the value. Now we need to make some simple validation so that we fail early if one of our required argument is actually doesn't exist. For example, we can do something like if value equal to null, or value. If value equal to null, or value is empty, then we will throw illegal argument exceptions and put some message. Okay, the message will be key has no value. There you go, and then we can replace this. App. Okay, that's it. And then we also need to have the AWS environment. Oh, one more thing, actually, let's put in the application name, because this we're going to create one Docker repository per application. App, it will be application name. Okay, then let's start creating the environment. AWS environment, where this will be environment builder build, and we will put the account ID and the region. The reason why we want to do this, so that we don't default it into whatever is our AWS CLI being set into, being configured into. So this will be better to make it explicit so we know where we are deploying rather than relying on what is the default of our AWS CLI. Then after that, what we need to do is we also need to create the stack. This is the one that is going to correspond to the CloudFormation stack. Okay, and then we will need the app. We also will need the stack ID. Okay, so for the stack ID, we can just simply say it our Docker repository stack. Basically, the ID is something like localized to the CDK, so that's why you don't really need to make it unique. Now, the stack properties. Okay, what we need here is the stack name. Now, for stack name, this is need to be globally unique. That's why we pass in the application name, and then just have the as Docker repository, and then we can put in also this AWS environment we had set up before. So those will be all the property we need to set into the stack. Now here is where we create our custom construct for Docker repository. And then Before we go into that detail, I'm just want to close the loop here, that at the end of everything we will call absint to synthesize it. Now let's see how we going to create this custom construct. Okay, as potentially in the future, well, we don't really need it for now, but to be tidy, I prefer to create another package called constructs. Inside the construct, I will create this Docker repository, which will basically create the ECR with some of our default setting. Okay, so in order to make this a construct, simple, just instance construct. Should be, I believe, this one. And then let's see the error. Usually create constructor. We will use this one. Okay. Now, once we have it, we will later on create the repository, the ECR, right? So here you go. I repository from the ECR, not from the code commit, yeah. Let's name this ECR repository. Now for this one, we will make it simple. We will going to have a custom object called input parameters. Okay, this we will create a private class. Not private class, I mean an inner class. Okay, then what we need is private. Probably I don't need to make this private. I just need to make this final string repository name. Another we need is the account ID. We also need the maximum image count, and then we also need the boolean, whether we want to retain the registry on delete. Okay, then we need the constructor. And let's make some simpler one. Where it will only require the repository name and the account ID. And then the rest we will put the default. Let's make a default of max account ID as 10 and the registry on delete as true. Okay. So once that's done, with the input parameter already defined, we can start now creating the I repository, ECR repository, where this will be repository from ECR dot builder dot create. Pass in this construct, and then we put in the ID. You can just name it ECR repository because it's just a local ID, so it doesn't really need to be that complex. Then we will have the build. We have the repository name as per input. Maybe let's just make this input smaller name. Repository name removal policy. Here we will input dot return on delete removal policy dot return removal policy dot destroy. And then we're also going to have the lifecycle rules. We will only have one rules, one rule, and that will be rule priority 1. Then the description is this is about the maximum image of this repository, so we don't like store unbounded number of version. Max image count. This is the that will be it. Okay. And then we also need to give some permission on who can do the pull and push into this ECR repository. Let's just make everybody that is under the account ID will be able, so the account ID will be able to do this ECR push and pull. Now that is done, we will use this custom contract we create. That's basically simply just setting up a ECR repository by which several settings that we want it to be, like the return registry policy, the maximum image rule, and also the permission for pull push. Okay, and then we're going to use this into this one. So final Docker repository, new Docker repository, and it should asking for the scope, and the scope for this construct should be the stack. So basically we're going to put this ECR under the stack that we prepared before here. Okay, and what will be the ID? The ID will be, let's say, just name it Docker repository, because this ID also like it's under the scope, right? So you don't have to make it globally unique. It will be sufficient. Now about the input, Docker repository input parameters. We will need the application name and also the account ID. So as the repository name, we use the application name directly. Okay, that's about it. So now we already defined, because we don't really modify anything, we don't really need to store it into variable, so this is enough. So if you notice, the way CDK do its stuff is the one as the parent scope will be part of the constructor, so that's why app is connected to the stack like this, and then we need the stack variable because we need to pass it into this Docker repository. Okay, and the rest the app will know and can track everything, every connects relationship here, and then we'll synthesize it. Now once this is said and done, actually one thing we need to know that we cannot use this one later on, because we plan on going to have like multiple stacks. So we're going to host multiple stacks inside of this, so that's why there is no single main class here. We can delete this one. It's lagging. Or maybe I'll just comment it out if you interested in reading it later on. And now, how do we deploy this? So when we already have it writing, we can deploy it by doing this. Okay, let me do this thing. Okay, CDK deploy, but we also need to define which app. That's why we name the one holding the PSVM into something with the ending of app, because that's what is the flag in the CDK. Then we will just call the mnvw to do the compilation here. Then we will define the main class directly in the command line. And let's just go here and then copy paste. Okay. Okay. There you go. This is the command line to deploy. Remember just now that we only have one stack in the cloud formation. What? Suppress with error 127. No such file. Didn't I have it already? MV. Oh, MNV. MVNW. Okay, let's wait for it. While waiting for it, so you notice that currently we only have the bootstrap stack from CDK. By the end of this, we should expect another stack being created, which is name, what was the name? Docker repository stack. Wait, what? Account ID has no value. All right, I haven't set up the value. So there are several ways you can do. First is you can set those context value as a CDK. Otherwise, you can also set it as an environment variable, but because those data are actually not that sensitive, we can put it as our what you call that, you can put it inside the cdk.json. The way to put it is inside the cdk.json. So let's minimize this. There is this context, right? So you just need to put everything here. For this, application name will be hello, and then the region, maybe just say hello app. For the region, AP South is 1. For the account ID, what else do we need actually? That's about it. So we can save this and then rerun the command again. Now it should have the contextual value it needs. That's where our validation works. Otherwise, it will stay longer until it finds out that it is an empty string, or it is just doing what we don't want it to be. This will take a while. What? Still error? What else? Oh, seems like invalid value. So seems like I cannot use capital letter. Let's see how did I build the repository name. I think I'll just pass in. I just pass in application name. So by changing that thing just now, it should fix it. Only small letter. Let's wait. Let's wait. Okay, now there is no error. It's 100% built. Successfully built. Do you wish to deploy? Yes, I do. So you can see the grand push pull. It's creating the repository. Code formation chance set. Created progress. Oh, why? Oh, seems like the CDK destroy didn't really clean the things. ECR, let's go to ECR and clean things up. This is the one we need to delete. Well, I do expect CDK destroy to destroy it, but turns out it's not. So we need to redo this again. Okay, looking good now. Asset build, deploying. Yeah. Okay, it's done. So now let's see what actually happening. First, let's start from the cloud formation. We should see a new cloud formation stack called HelloCDK, and in the resources we'll have this Docker repository data, okay, where we can open it up, and then here you go, the ECR that we just built from CDK. We just did our first infrastructure of code. And I think that's enough for this episode. So to summarize, what did we learn today? We learn about what is CDK. We learn about how to bootstrap a CDK. And then for specific of the project, we start creating a custom contract to create an ECR repository based on some default setting that we care about. So that's it. See you in next episode. Press like and subscribe.